right, let's do it. First of all, I want you to tell me a little about your childhood.
I don't
Grandma's
remember.
Grandma's
I'm
never
very
talked
old
to me.
and I don't no longer remember unless you ask me directly
Okay,
the question.
Grandma said your father was a painter.
My father was a rabbi by profession, but he turned to painting when he met my mother.
He was actually a rabbi. He had a congregation.
And when he went, yes. He went
I never knew that.
Where?
Yeah, but that was supposed to be his profession. His father was hired than a rabbi. He was a rough rabbi, all right, as you would call it. And he never practiced it. He married my mother and he became a painter.
I always heard he was a painter, but
He was.
Now, in what country was he a rabbi?
He never practiced.
Right, but he was studying. Was that in Romania?
Studying, that's it.
Was it in Austria or Romania?
In Europe, sure, in Austria.
In which country?
Austria.
Austria became Romania afterwards, right?
But that's before his time. It'd be after his time, I mean, after he served. My father served for the, what do you call it, the Kaiser. And he was in the German army. And I can tell you very little. I came here as a very little girl.
Was he?
And there was nothing that should be so memorable about it. It was all wars, always war.
Was it World War One? Or it was before that?
World War One, and before that they always had
Before
war.
that, sure.
When Austria and Romania had a war, it had nothing to do with World War One or World War Two or the Civil War. They were warring day and night. Today it was one country, the next day it was another country, and
Grandma tells me she used to sing a song for me called Romania. Do you remember that song? It's a school song. Romania.
if I heard it, I would remember it.
Romania.
You remember?
Just that part.
Grandma sang it for us.
Really?
Yes.
She never sang it.
Yeah, she used to sing it.
She didn't remember much either.
But she's not that much older than me. Things that I remember, she doesn't remember.
What was your parents' names?
Name?
Your father's and mother's
My
names?
mother was, her maiden name was Biederman, and she came from a very prominent family. They built all the bridges in Europe, and my father came from a religious family. They were Rosenblatt. My mother was Biederman, and they were known in Europe, you know.
What were their first names?
My mother was Kayla. That's Karen's name for her.
Pretty.
Carol, today's a very popular name. And my father's name was Barish, but English and Austrian was, there it was Bernhard with an H. In this country it was Bernard.
God, I can't imagine the things that you must have seen over these years with your eyes. You know, I mean, you've seen from horse and buggy to automobile. What was it like when you saw the first automobile? And then airplanes, oh my God.
That's what it's all about. What I see, you see differently. She sees what you see
saw the
in
Industrial
me.
Revolution.
She sees something differently. What I see in the baby, somebody else sees something different. What I see in you, you're gorgeous. And I love you. I love you all the time. You're a brat, but I love the brat. Uncle Daddy adored you.
Oh, I loved him
That was
too.
his favorite. My husband's favorite because he was just like my husband.
He used to call me a red-headed bastard, and that was my favorite thing. I loved it.
They were exactly alike,
Yes.
the same type of temperament, the same action. So they loved one another. But when I see that doesn't mean the next one will see.
Yes, yeah. What was it like before television?
What was it like before
When
television?
you were growing up,
radio?
I mean, you saw when we grew up. You know, all we wanted to do was watch TV at night. Sit around the
Well,
TV.
yeah,
What did you do?
Actually, that includes your grandmother. We were readers. And we did an awful, my father was it wasn't a week that he didn't go to Manhattan, didn't read English, he read Hebrew. And he read, your grandma was she still goes to the library at her age, and I just sold, how much was that, 168 books.
Do you remember any of the books you read? Did you read classics?
Some of them I do, you know, at times if I see something, I say, oh, I saw that, I read this book, or like, now my vision isn't so hot, so I need the large print. I belong to a Reader's Digest practically all the years, as long as they're in existence, 60 some odd years. Now I get the big print from them. So but they also print some books in the big print, and a lot of books that they send me, so I became a member. They are books that I already have read in the past.
Right.
When I look at the book, for the moment, I don't, but once I start to read it, I say, gee whiz, didn't I read? And I recall.
Do you remember any of your favorite books back when, before you were married?
No, not really. They were all favorites, so frankly, don't quote me. Or I didn't continue to read them. I had to get interested. Mostly I like detective stories, legal stories. I never went much for this mush, you know, the love stories. Never. Even in the movies or theater, never went for that.
What did you dream about being someday when you were, say,
What
junior
did I
high,
want
high
to-
school?
Well, I'll tell you what I wanted to be if you're not. You're not?
No.
No. I wanted to be rich, marry a rich man, have a nanny for my children, tell you the truth, and go vacation and go tripping.
Right,
Nothing wrong with that.
In my days, you didn't dream of a profession.
right.
If a woman went to work, she kept it a secret from all her friends and all her neighbors. It degraded the man
husband, yeah.
that he didn't make enough money. Today, if you don't go to work, you're nothing. I hear on TV when there's an interview, the first thing they'll ask the woman, whether she's 20 or 60, what is your profession and what do you do?
What do you think about that?
Boy, where it's
What do I think it's the greatest thing that God ever created. I think I bless God for it. A woman doesn't have to wait for the man to hand her the
Absolutely,
$10
yes.
Right.
or $1,000, whatever, that she's so independent. I often
Well, look
say,
at your granddaughter. She's an attorney. And
I
she's,
so often say to
God.
Blair, you know, she just became a teacher.
Yes.
Teacher, I speak that way to Rachel, but you're Rachel. I'm crazy about you, Rachel. And when I see her, I tell her the same thing. Ask her. It's the greatest thing in the world if you can be independent. There's nothing greater in this face of the earth that you don't have to wait on the counter of the man to say, I saw a dress. I remember my day, I used to stand outside with the babies in a carriage. I never did that. Never did it. Well, you know, I was independent.
Always,
you know.
always independent.
Women would say, oh, if he comes home tonight, I'm going to be real nice. I saw a dress in number 15 in my day, a dress there in the neighborhood. It was 10, 15. I think it's wonderful. I'm so proud of Blair that she's just started to teach. I tell her that every day. I said, do you know what that means?
Sure.
It doesn't matter if the salary isn't what you had expected when you're young. You think you can own the moon and this. I said, but you have your own salary to do with, and do with it the right thing. If you're with a man, share it. If he shares his,
Aunt
you
Agusta,
know.
I know Grandma's name was Fina, and she changed it to Josephina when she came
Her
to
name
America.
was Fina. She didn't not change it to Josephina. This is what happens in Europe. As long as the world was created, Germany was Germany, Austria was they were never for the Jews.
It was because she was Jewish.
Her
yeah.
name is Fina, my name is Gusta. That's not our Jewish name. I think her Jewish name, which was never used, Fagi, something like that. When we entered school, you could have gone to a ghetto school, I don't know. Here it's ghetto, there it's Jewish school, and registered under your own name. If you went to the German school, you wanted a better education for your children. They insisted, instead of Fina, Josephina.
Because she was Jewish, and they wanted to take the Jewish
My name
out.
was Gusta, so they added an A-U, Augusta.
Right.
But she came to this country with my brother Sam. You remember my brother Sam, no?
Of course, yeah.
His name was Salo. He changed it to Sam. The only two that didn't is Morris. Now, his name was Maurice in German, but here it's Morris, period. And mine was Augusta. It remained Augusta. I never I never was into that, changing anything. That's what it is, take it or leave it.
Did you ever want to go back to your real name when you came?
Did I ever want, I would have loved to go, I couldn't
How come
afford
you
it.
didn't?
I just told you that in
No,
one
no,
word.
but when you came to America.
But that we didn't, who had the money to go to Europe, to go traveling? We
No,
were
no, no,
glad
no,
we
no, no,
could
no,
pay
no,
it.
no. I'm talking about your name change. Did you ever want to change your name back? to
No,
Augusta?
no. My
Okay.
name was
Augusta.
Augusta Rosenblatt,
Okay.
and that's what it was. When I got married, it's Augusta Seaman, period.
Yeah.
But this is me. I have never had to impress anybody. That's me. We're talking with your mother. I worked in some very, very exclusive dress shops, a clothing store, and the customers used to wait weeks to see me so that I could service them. So your mama said, why? I said, because I was so honest with them. If a size 14 wanted to get in a 10, I would say, well, you're big behind. How can you fit a 10? The 14 will look greater. I knew whom to say it to.
Right.
I can't say it to everyone, but I knew and those people waited for me. Nobody else could. I'd say it the way it is, Kenny, you should know by now. Either you like me or you don't, it doesn't make
Sure.
any difference to
Sure.
me.
Tough woman.
Period. Unless I think you're the same way, am I right?
Very.
You don't, it doesn't matter to you.
I'm trying to be.
That's the best way to be.
I'm still growing up.
More questions. Did you experience anti-Semitism
In this country,
personally? No.
no,
Start
in
in
there I
Europe and
was
then go
too
back
young.
here. But
Here
what
I
about here?
experienced a lot of, when I went to school, all they wanted to do, everybody wanted to, every teacher wanted to adopt me as a little girl. And they felt, must have been a cute little girl. I had slim, I had very, your grandma was lighter than this. We were very blonde, we had very beautiful long hair. And, no, I never experienced any anti-Semitism, no.
Okay.
Not even in Europe, I wouldn't know, I was too young. Who's gonna bother
You've
a
seen
little
so many-
8-9-year-old child?
You've seen so much change in your lifetime. It must be
Well,
fascinating.
so
I
have
mean,
you, and you will
I
continue.
certainly have, but
And so has she, we all have.
Sure.
Every day is a new day, and we're only dots if you put us all on the wall. We're all little tiny dots from on top. And those little dots today, two are erased here and one is erased there. Nothing. This is what life is all about, Eddie. And you take it the way you see it, period. Some people make a big deal out of nothing, and some take it with a grain of salt.
Gotta ask you a question.
Sure.
Darkest day in probably one of the darkest days in history, 9/11. Tell me about what happened to you.
The what?
9/11, September 11th,
Oh,
2001.
well, you know, I'm right there.
You live
you've been
a
to my
block
house,
away
so
from the World
not
Trade
quite a
Center.
few- I'm right there. What happened to me, I had a very bad attack on my leg. I have these muscle spasms, and when I get it, I can't feel the ground. The legs become absolutely numb. And as I try to put my foot out of the bed, I have
That was the-
reach ground.
let me go back.
So
That-
I turned, that's the night before the attack.
Okay.
And and I turned, and I hurt my hip, never been back to normal, okay? And I was in bed, and couldn't sleep, and I didn't say anything to the boys, nothing. Couldn't even go as far as the bathroom to get a Tylenol, an aspirin, a glass of water. 9 o'clock in the morning, Karen called from her office. Grandma, you all right? She knew that I'm not a house sitter. I used to go to the Trade Center every single day. I'm 3 blocks from the Trade Center. Grandma, you home? Thank God. I said, what's the matter, Karen? She said, don't you know what happened? The tower just went on fire. I said, what happened? Never connected it with an attack. I said, accident. She said, Grandma, we still don't know. And with that, I kept the television on. And as I turned it on, the second one went. And
Did you hear the plane when the second one?
The second one went immediately after 2 minutes. And my niece from Florida called me, my nephew's daughter. And she's a producer of the news in Fort Myers. And the president happened to be there, you know, for whatever reason, political reasons, and they watched it, and she got hysterical. She says, I got an aunt right in the middle. And she called Aunt Augusta, you're Samantha, I'm fine, what's wrong? And she told me, she said, sabotage. My building. The next day was evacuated. I couldn't get out of bed.
Take your time.
No, that's my condition that I... And Larry sent some former police officer who was helping out down in the Trade Center, 2 policemen, and they carried me down. They brought me to his house, which was so many hours away. He lived near the Hamptons at the time. And that's what I can tell you. I stayed with Larry a couple of weeks. I came home, my house was destroyed. When I say destroyed, we'll say why. I had kept the windows open. September, I didn't have my air on. And being so sick, and the cops were interested in the condition of my house, they never thought of checking my windows. My furniture was demolished. There wasn't a piece that was worthwhile saving.
But even going,
and that's the story.
But
the
going back, you
mine
couldn't get out
people.
for a couple of days. You were stuck in the apartment. I remember you were stuck there until Larry got a police officer to get you out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, somebody he knew that, and they because you couldn't enter the building, they shut the building.
There was a New York City police
But he's a
officer
police
that came
officer.
and got you because they quarantined
No
the area.
elevator, everything dark. Nothing. And that's the story. Please, Kenny, do me a favor, get me a tissue.
Get it? Okay.
I'll get you one.
Mary, I'll see you later.